Long ago, when animals ruled the world, Africa was a very different place. All the animals understood each other and got along peacefully. In the calm waters of a lake lived the crocodile. Every evening he would crawl out at twilight, and his smooth, beautiful skin glowed in the light of the moon. One night, a curious frog saw this beautiful creature. Overawed by his glowing skin, he croaked loud praises. Soon, all the other animals came to gaze at the crocodile. Herds of zebra and kudu arrived to admire him, where he basked on the bank. Crocodile saw their admiring looks, and he became vain, and each day he crawled out a little earlier to enjoy their admiration for longer. But as he did nothing but lie there, they eventually went away bored. The hot sun began to dry his beautiful skin, and it grew hard and greenish, and bumpy, and scaly. Covered in shame, Crocodile slunk back to the water to hide his once lovely body. He'd paid a high price for vanity, and to this day, Crocodile blames Frog for his misfortunes. If ever he hears one croak, he silences it with a snap of his jaws. Crocodiles are the world's largest reptiles. They look like a relic of the dinosaur days, and indeed their family is very ancient, one of the oldest on Earth. Reptiles come in all shapes and sizes. From desert dwellers like the leopard tortoise of the Karoo in South Africa's Cape Province, to this boa constrictor which lives in the hot, wet world of the Madagascan rainforest. Most reptiles have dry, rough scales, but that's one of the few external characteristics they share. Otherwise, they could hardly look more different. This chameleon is just one member of a family that has nearly 7,000 distinct species. Some reptiles are sea creatures, like the green turtle. Most reptiles live permanently on land, but crocodiles divide their time between land and water. Though they're the biggest of the reptiles, not all are large. Of Africa's 3 species, the West African dwarf crocodile rarely grows longer than 2 meters. Both it and the slightly larger long-snouted crocodile are rarely seen, hiding away in forested, swampy regions of the same part of Africa. A long, thin snout can slash through water and catch prey with ease, but it works just as well against land animals. The Nile crocodile is Africa's largest and best known. Lay 3 tall men end to end and put the weight of 14 together, and you have a big Nile crocodile. And though its brain is the largest in the reptile world, it's still only the size of a thumb. Crocodiles are designed for water, where they can breathe, see, smell and hear while almost totally submerged. Their nostrils have valves that open and shut so water doesn't rush into their lungs. Sometimes they're the only bit of the crocodile visible above water. Eyes that look like a snake's have 3 sets of eyelids, top, bottom, and an inner set, the nictitating membranes. The nictitating membranes keep the eyes moist and clean, but they're also somewhat like a diver's goggles for underwater work. A crocodile's ears are the sharpest of any reptile, with movable ear flaps that work like a loudspeaker volume control. Short, stubby legs end in webbed back feet for steering and paddling in water, and blunter front feet for climbing banks and digging. Crocodiles have no lips. Even with jaws clamped shut, water leaks in. However, plumbing problems are solved by a special palate at the back of the throat. This shuts on submersion to keep the crocodile watertight. Crocodiles can't chew. Their lower jaws only move up and down, not sideways, so they must pound and crush their food. And they can't keep their toothy traps shut without physical effort. They just spring open naturally when they're relaxing. Gaping also helps them cool off. A crocodile's jaws pack immense power, and 66 teeth interlock like a zip fastener. The combined strength of both can crush a big animal like a car wrecking machine. The word crocodile comes from the Old Greek krokodrillos, pebble worms. Worm hardly described this big reptile. But in medieval times, it also meant dragon, much more suitable for an animal as scaly as that mythological monster. Crocodiles can live to 100 years. During that time, they never stop growing, just keep getting bigger and bigger. That scaly tail is never used to knock prey off its feet, contrary to popular myth. It's a propeller, and is one of the distinctive characteristics that make the crocodile a supremely designed predator, with almost no natural enemies. From day one, a crocodile learns that scales and bumps make you look remarkably like a log. Just lie quite still, and your meals will be completely fooled. Even if they tickle, don't bat so much as an eyelid. From small meals, big crocodiles grow, and naturally appetites too. The true heavyweights of the Nile crocodile world live in East Africa. Each year, on long annual migrations, huge herds of zebra and wildebeest must ford rivers full of crocodiles. Normally, crocodiles lie quietly in ambush, but here there's no need. For these huge reptiles, life can be literally feast or famine, and migrations are feast days. Most cross safely. Some just make it, but others never reach the opposite bank. Here on the Serengeti Plains, the catches are big enough to keep several crocodiles busy. Very few reptiles hunt and eat together, but crocodiles do. Between April and May each year, bream migrate upriver at Ndumu on the South African border with Mozambique, and the crocodiles line up in toothy welcome. Even tiddlers are worth filtering, a light snack before the main course. Other fish fanciers know of this eating place. Maybe not the right dining companion for a marsh terrapin. A curve of crocodile tails creates a solid fish net. At last, the main course, big fat bream. This looks as hard as fishing in a barrel. When the bream migrate, there's usually plenty for everyone, and peace reigns. But a particularly juicy fat catch might spark envy. Wiser to go off to a quiet corner and eat alone. Crocodiles often swallow meals whole. An acid bath of digestive juices quickly liquidizes them. It's as powerful as car battery acid and can even dissolve bone. Whole or partially shredded, but never rotten, crocs like their food fresh. For 180 million years, dinosaurs and flying reptiles ruled the Earth, until nearly all of them vanished 65 million years ago. But of the great Archosaur dynasty, to which Tyrannosaurus rex belonged, one line has survived, the Crocodilia. Today's amphibious crocodiles descended originally from a land animal, Terrestrisuchus, that lived about 240 million years ago in Europe. It was perhaps the size of a large domestic cat, with long legs and short claws for easy running. Its skin was probably rather like a modern crocodile's. Then, about 200 million years ago, the Protosuchians arrived on the scene. They also lived on the land. Their belly scales were fused into a protective shield, like today's tortoises, and 2 rows of plates defended their spine. But their legs were shorter and their skulls and jaws longer than Terrestrisuchus. About 140 million years ago, the ancient crocodilians changed their lifestyle and turned amphibious. Some even took to the sea. These Mesosuchians looked much more like today's crocodiles. They had large webbed back feet and long narrow jaws to help them catch invertebrates and fish. Modern crocodiles evolved 80 million years ago when warmer climates brought greater diversity and size. Some were huge then. A fossil found in Texas was 15 meters long. The skull alone measured 2 meters. Aptly named Terrible Crocodile, it weighed as much as a bus, would have stood as high as an average ceiling, and was as big as Tyrannosaurus rex. "80 million years ago, the family had already divided into 2 branches, the alligatorines and the crocodilians. Generally, an alligator is smaller than a crocodile. Its snout is rounded and shovel-shaped. A crocodile's is V-shaped, and its upper jaw is wider than the lower and overlaps it completely when it's shut. There are only 2 types of alligator, the American and the Chinese. An alligator's and a crocodile's design is so well suited to its lifestyle that in the last 80 million years, it's hardly changed at all. Hard to believe, but this sharp-toothed animal shares certain of its features with birds, such as a muscular gizzard to crush food before it goes into the stomach. Crocodiles also make nests, but they're very different structures from the average bird's nest. Way back over 300 million years ago, the ancestors of